Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints.
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who might be a company named after a butterfly. It's Frank. How are you today?
Hello, hello, hello. How are you, Mothra?
I'm good, thank you, King Ghidorah.
Nailed it. Got weird fast.
Nailed it. You're gonna realize how shockingly little I know about what we're going to talk about.
That's okay. I think we're on the same playing field there.
That's good. All right, great. It's gonna be a lot of empty air. Frank, we are here on Beer with Geeks to talk about things that we're drinking and the things that we're thinking about. But so first, let's do the drinking bit. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a lovely, lovely Stoneface Brewing Company Loon Mountain Crispy Ale.
Loon Mountain, you say?
Yes, it is there. I mean, it's named after Loon Mountain. I don't think it's, the official beer of Loon Mountain. Or anything like that. But yeah, Stoneface Brewing in New Hampshire. They have a tap room near me. I love visiting there. Very kid friendly. It's nice. But it's a Pilsner, a flaked rice Pilsner.
What is a flaked rice Pilsner?
Well, I'm happy to tell you, Tim. It is that the malt that they use, right? You got your hops, your malt, and your yeast. The malt is rice, flaked rice,
instead of yeast. That's fascinating.
Instead of say barley or that you can use all different kinds of malts.
So is that a gluten-free beer? Because
it does have Pilsen malt in it too, which I believe has gluten.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. But there are rice beers that are gluten free.
I've definitely had rice beers before.
Yeah.
I've never heard of rice flakes, so that's where I
Yeah, I don't know about the flaked part, but yeah.
Well, it sounds delicious.
It's lovely. It's very crisp. It's light. I like it. What about you? What are you enjoying this evening?
Well, I'm enjoying.
I mean, today, whatever time it is that you're listening to.
I'm enjoying it, but it is not a beverage of alcohol. My throat is kind of scratchy, so I'm drinking a Throat Comfort Yogi Tea.
Ooh, yes.
So they're quite good. Yogi Tea is great, and so when I'm drinking it, because I'm here to deliver content, despite my voice being a little dry. But it's no more than that. I'm not getting sick. I'm just, I talked a lot the last couple of days.
Sure. Well, I mean, it is that time of year, so there are lots of ailments going around this time of year.
Indeed, but the tea is delicious, so I'm happy.
Oh, good. Well, I'll try to carry the load here, so you can rest those those golden pipes. But we are. You turned me on to this show on Apple TV Plus, Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. And I had seen a poster for it or something, but didn't look too carefully and didn't really know what it was and just didn't pay much attention to it. But then you made me realize that it is essentially a prequel to
It's like sequel, yeah.
Prequel, yeah, I guess it is sort of a sequel prequel, yeah. Because it does happen after some, other things.
Yeah, so it happens, I think it happens after it happens after the 2014 Godzilla, the one that relaunched
the MonsterVerse.
The MonsterVerse. but I believe this is before King of the Monsters. But the rest of it is before King of the Monsters and Godzilla versus Kong, and then Kong X Godzilla or Godzilla X Kong, whatever the next one is called. I can't remember.
Yep.
Godzilla and Kong. Yeah. So this is just Godzilla pre-Kong,
right.
but also post Kong Skull Island, which is also referenced here. Yeah. Anyway, none of that matters because you can actually watch the show without seeing any of those.
Yes, that's true.
Movies, which is pretty wonderful. Actually,
it doesn't. Yeah, you don't have to have seen anything really ever.
No, you don't really have to know what Godzilla is. Like,
not really. No, you don't. Like, you could show this to an alien and with no concept of Godzilla, and they would.
And the alien turns to you and says, which translates to, "Wait, is this real? Is this?"
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So so I did not expect to like this show as much as I did.
Oh, interesting. But you still trusted me. Good for you.
I did still trust you. I did still
A
trust you.
testament to friendship,
you
if there ever was one.
Giving it such high praise that, and I love Kurt Russell. Like, it's not a hard sell when Kurt Russell's in something. I just think he's so cool. Like, I've always had like a man crush on him. He's just like, he's so cool. He's such like a badass sort of the characters he tends to play. I've always just really liked him.
Yeah, and I also really like his son, Wyatt Russell, who was also in the show, and they played the same character, one in the past, one in the mostly present.
Brilliant.
Yeah, which is great.
It was
wonderful.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Like, because Wyatt Russell does look like his father so much.
Mm-hmm.
When in Falcon and Winter Soldier, he was so like, oh, Kurt Russell is Captain America now. Okay.
Correct. You know, it's funny. There's obviously they do press junkets and tours and whatever else, and there's a couple with them interviewing together.
Oh,
but,
nice.
Like, the interviews are just like a father and son being a father and son. And that was, I think it was asked, like, do you like watch yourself on TV or whatever else? And Wyatt's like, no, I don't like to watch myself. And Kurt Russell's like, I do. He's like, it's true. He's like, when I was growing up, I'd like come in the living room and Dad'd be like, oh, look, Overboard's on TV. Oh, like, oh, what? No, I'm not watching that. Like, I'm watching something I'm not in.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it just made me like them even more. And that was I think after I watched the show in its completion, and I just love them.
I didn't realize how much I needed something like that to have them both playing the same character like that, and even better than like it would be in a movie with flashbacks, like the fact that we got to see such sort of unfurled performance from both of them, right? Like, you get to see them both really dig into that character and have to play the two different ages and one to, I would imagine that the Kurt Russell is trying to imitate his son's mannerisms, or even just not even mannerisms, like think about the things that he learned when he was that
right
Lee versus now, like very, 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 very well constructed, and very, very just the casting really sells it because of the family resemblance.
Were you more interested in the past stuff or the present-ish day stuff? I say present-ish day because it's like almost 10 years ago the story takes place. Yeah.
Yes. Which I didn't realize until the end.
I don't think they want you to realize it. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you'd have to, like, if you knew that Godzilla came out in 2014, I guess that would be you just kind of go like, okay, so it happened a little bit after that, so I guess it's 10 years ago. But if you don't know that, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. It doesn't at all. But yeah, I think I was a little more invested in the present day.
So I was more invested in the past than the present day. Fascinating. Yeah.
I was the mystery, like the mystery of like what happened to their father, was really compelling to me. But that's not to say that I didn't like the past, because I really, really did. It was like two parallel shows, both of which I really enjoyed.
Yes, I agree with that, because they were doing different things. Like tonally, they were like the Like, it wasn't a mystery in the past that you're
No.
also like solving in the future or whatever. This is like the past or the future is about, this father that worked for Monarch or whatever and disappeared and had, a secret family, and the kids meet and they like find their dad and all this stuff. But the past is like, this is the history of Monarch.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just found that I just like historical. I think I just like historical dramas. So like if you put historical drama, also science fiction, also monsters, like I was just like, yes, do more.
I really dug as you get later in the series. I really liked how much the Monarch. Well, I guess what I'm saying is I really liked the way the two stories started to become interwoven at the end.
Mm-hmm.
They started pretty far apart and then got tighter and tighter and tighter until they completely overlapped at the very, very end. I don't know if you know how much of what happened in this. I mean, is Monarch part of the lore, part of the canon as is shown here?
Yeah,
I don't even. I'm not super familiar with the lore to remember that.
So in this iteration of the MonsterVerse, they introduced Monarch in Kong Skull Island.
Okay.
Which was the second one. I don't think they planned on it being all connected originally. I think it's Kong that was like, we can do something with this. I think Godzilla was pretty much standalone, and then they, opted to do other things afterwards. And so, but like, it's just been tidbits of what Kong barely had Monarch in it at all. They just like show up in a post-credit scene, and they're like monsters and stuff. And you're like, okay, cool.
Sure.
And then it came out more in
I'm here to talk to you about the Monsters Initiative.
Yeah, that's basically what the scene is. Like, have you seen Skull Island?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston just like sitting in a room, like some like government room, and they're like, what is all this? Tom Hiddleston voice, whatever. And they're like, have you heard of Monarch? And they're like, no. And like, end credits.
You
will. Whatever it is. Right, you will. And everyone's like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like the name of the show being Monarch: Legacy of Monsters didn't communicate to me that we're talking, those monsters. Like, to me, it's just like okay, so it's just about monsters. It's just a show about okay. It didn't trigger for me Monarch and monsters. It must be about Godzilla, because I'm not enough of a fan for that to have clicked in my head. So I just see this. It's called Monarch. It's about monsters. Sounds like it's not really for me.
Yeah.
And I'm onto the. I'm like, all right, where's where's For All Mankind in this app?
There is not. There is not. Give him a Ted Lasso. Get out of here, Monarch. Yeah. I guess there's not a lot of. I don't know what I would call it. There's not a lot of brand recognition for Monarch.
Yes,
right?
I think that's right.
I think like fans know the Godzilla movies are called the MonsterVerse. Like, geeks know that, but that's not the same terminology like that regular people use. Like, I was like, if I turned to my wife and I was like, do you want to watch the next MonsterVerse movie? She's going to be like, what are you talking about? Like, what is that?
Exactly.
But if I said, do you want to watch Godzilla or do you want to watch King Kong? She would have a better like understanding of what I'm talking about, because those are household names, even if you've never seen them.
Exactly.
And
so they have that brand recognition.
Correct. She would say no, and
right.
It's always worth asking.
You never know. You don't know unless you ask.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I always say. But yeah, they don't have that recognition, and Monarch doesn't either. So it's it's kind of funny. So I imagine there's a lot of people who don't recognize it from the title, and there is a poster or a thumbnail that has literally, it says Monarch and it's just a picture of Godzilla. I think that gets the point across. But the sort of main poster with all of their faces and stuff, like I almost didn't even notice Godzilla in the background, because I was just scrolling through Apple TV, right? So it didn't I didn't see it long enough to notice.
Mm-hmm. I actually, speaking of like not noticing Godzilla, I think one of the strengths of the show is how little Godzilla is present in the show.
Yeah.
Like it feels very, very important when he shows up. Like
extremely.
And truthfully, that's some of the best CGI I've seen in a show, bar none. Like,
I mean,
truly
yes.
good.
And they saved it. Yeah, like you had a small handful over 10 episodes of full on, monster movie shots. A very small number of scenes where that happened, and everyone counted, and everyone was visually stunning. Mm-hmm. They saved that budget to blow it all on a handful of shots, instead of having lots of special effects all throughout.
Yeah, it
really was fun. At the very end, the finale episode, really, like when he showed up there, really blew me away.
And I think, but I wonder if that's why, like, this is a good example of using your budget wisely, because like when you see, because there's a limited number of shots of like seeing destruction or monsters or whatever, then they mean something when they're there.
Yeah.
I think of it almost like an old Ray Harryhausen movie where like the skeletons, right, the dead that Jason and the Argonauts fight, whatever else. That scene is like a minute long. Like it's barely anything, but it has been like in the zeitgeist of fantasy and science fiction for so long because it had such an impact for the short time that it was there.
Yes.
Instead of like seeing them all the time, where you just kind of like, all right, well, there they are again and again and again. Mm-hmm. But it's just like a leave you wanting more kind of mentality went a long way. It just went a long way for this on the show for me.
That's a great, the Harryhausen comparison is good. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I really love talking about how they interwove the storylines when at the end we got to see Kurt Russell, the older Lee Shaw, interacting with young Keiko from 1959. That was really, really, like, the whole show built up to that, and I loved it.
Yeah, I did too. Even because that was in a lot of ways the test to see if they felt like the same character.
Exactly.
Yep. And I because like when you're watching an isolated Lee Shaw be older or younger, in some ways you think about them as different people or different characters, they're different actors, even though they look alike and whatever. But here you just this was like the worlds merging in a lot of ways, like the MonsterVerse merging with the the Middle Earth, if you will, the Midgard of the planet. And I just I just really liked it. It was really good. I guess some spoilers for Legacy of Monsters, some deep spoilers, but did you expect her to come back, Keiko to come back? Because like they were just like, she died some time ago, something.
Yeah, I didn't expect her to come. I wasn't expecting that. No, yeah, I probably should have seen the breadcrumbs, but I didn't. I
didn't really see tons of breadcrumbs, but like she died off screen. I'm like, no, she didn't. You're a liar.
It didn't dawn on me. But it had, and again, I feel like it should have, but I'm glad it didn't because it had more impact this way.
Speaking of things that dawned on me, though, or you and me, like, I don't know why it took me 10 episodes for me to realize the third guy in that lineup of Lee Shaw and Keiko, and the third guy whose name I cannot remember, was supposed to be John Goodman from Kong Skull Island.
Oh, I did not connect.
That's why it opens with John Goodman on the island in Kong Skull Island. That's where like whatever he is and whatever it like leads kind of back to that moment where they're like, hey, he kind of lost it once Keiko went away and blah blah blah, came crazy, kind of like whatever. I'm like, oh. I feel like I should have connected that dot a lot sooner, and maybe they like told me and I missed it or something. But part of it is because I'm very bad with character names, and so unless I have somebody to talk about the show with on a week-to-week basis, I don't know anybody's name.
Yeah, I mean, same here, honestly.
Yeah.
But I did not connect that John Goodman is supposed to be the guy from Workaholics.
Is that what that is?
That's what he's from. Yeah. I never remember his last name. I remember his first name is Anders because it's a memorable name.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember his last name. And I'm not going to use my lookup on that.
Nope.
But okay, I did not connect until you just said it now. I was, in fact, when he was watching that film back at the end in the finale, I was like, oh, right. Where does this come in though? And I don't know why I wasn't, maybe he said his name or something. I don't, and I missed it. Because if he said that his name was Bill Randa, I would have connected it then, but I didn't. When I was watching it, I guess it didn't click.
That's okay. It was a nice moment for me when it did click, so and I was like, oh, that was really great. I wish I figured that out way sooner. This is kind of in line with the character. So I have seen all the MonsterVerse movies. I mean, they're like, the first Godzilla was good, and I actually enjoy Scott Island. I didn't love the last two, King of the Monsters and Godzilla versus Kong. They were just like, they were fine. Like, they were movies that I saw.
I haven't seen Godzilla -1.
No, that one's separate. Right?
Okay, it's the Toho.
Correct. It's a Toho, completely isolated. It's its own movie. It's not a franchise. Like, gonna be more of them. It's just another Godzilla, and I haven't seen it either because it's freaking impossible to like find a place that it's showing and to get there. / please release it digitally. I really want to see this movie.
Yeah, please, really. Like
I'm trying really hard to support you and to see this movie, and you're making it impossible by not releasing it. So let's come on, get on this. No, the others are like, they're just okay, and I always feel like one of the flaws of like all of those movies, except for the first Godzilla, which I actually feel that did have it for the most part, at least for half of it with Bryan Cranston, is like I to care about the human characters. Like a lot of times, like you almost forget, like, oh yeah, there are humans in those movies that I'm supposed to follow around and know about their lives and their story and whatever else. And I just never feel that way about MonsterVerse movies. They're just like, the humans are just like, we're here to say exposition and to get in a vehicle and to say more exposition to get to a place to look scared when monsters are there.
Oh yeah,
to say more exposition. And I feel like that 2014 Godzilla did a good job at like on the ground people affected by this, like monsters. Kong Skull Island also did a good job at it. Different type of, like, it was more of an adventure movie, so it was more like, I care about them because they're fun or whatever. But truthfully, this show was the first time that I was like, yeah, monsters are cool, but like, I like these people.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. That's the first time I've cared about the human characters.
Yeah, like you could take out the monsters of the show, and I'd be like, I'd watch it still. Like,
they basically did take the monsters out of it, right? It was cameos by Godzilla and friends, basically.
Yep. Is the legacy of monsters, does it refer to the actual monsters of the MonsterVerse, or does it refer to the people in charge of Monarch and all these other shady government operations?
I suppose you could look at it that way. I tend to read it as, this is the legacy of the MonsterVerse. Here's the or almost like the legend of the MonsterVerse.
Yeah.
But I like that double meaning. I think that there is something to that. You know, it's although the military
the industrial
guys
complex and
like that's and even like what Monarch had become by the end. I think that all fits.
Yeah, I think there's something to it, because I really like to care about the human characters. You have to give them a story that matters, and like I really liked a lot of this had to do with human fallout, but also like the relationship between parents and their kids, and not just like the kid's dad, whose name I cannot remember, or the kids for that matter, but I'm not going to look it up.
Kate and Kentaro, but I don't remember
yes,
the last name.
But also but even like Kiersey Clemens and like her parents and like all of this kind of this whole thing. But then you're also in the past you're watching them like these people like in some ways like become parents of like not just like what will eventually lead to these kids, but also like of Monarch, right? How are they like birthing a thing that will eventually grow up and take on its own shape on its own that they can't control.
Sure.
Yeah, I just really liked the whole thing. Who was the showrunner here? He was a comic writer.
Matt Fraction.
Yeah. He's great.
Yeah. Like I've always liked his work. I don't know if has he done much TV before. I guess he has done some, but I don't know how much he's done as a showrunner.
I don't know, and I'm not going to look it up.
Neither am I.
I'm going the other way. We have one lookup, and I'm not using it at all. I'm not even going to use it. No.
Actually, I might use mine for that. But okay. I really, really liked. I think he's like really has a knack for this. And I would love to see more.
Do you know how this show has done?
From him?
Like, I mean, like I know a lot of streaming services don't release their numbers or whatever, but I'm curious if it like has done well enough for Apple in some ways because, like, obviously it's an expensive show, and so and I do love that they like clearly had fun making it too. I saw an interview with the girl whose name I also don't know, not Kiersey Clemens, the other one, Kate. She's in that new show, Shogun on FX and whatever, and she did an interview about like doing the two, and she said like it was all laughs on Legacy of Monsters, and Shogun was very serious.
Oh wow!
And so she said the Legacy of Monsters was very fun to make,
nice.
And so which makes it. I always like to hear people having fun doing their job. Like it's just it makes the quality of the product, whatever they made, I feel like better.
I agree. Yeah, if people are in the right mindset making it, it's going to be better art.
Exactly.
Matt Fraction was a consulting producer on Hawkeye, and now he's the executive producer of Monarch. So this is
that's a big step.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he was a writer on Iron Man 2. I'm sorry, no, the video game Iron Man 2.
I was going to say, what? I refuse to believe that Matt Fraction went, I want my bird. Give me my bird. I refuse to believe that he wrote that.
Well, I thought that's true. It does seem off, but I was like, oh, maybe like script doctor or something.
Maybe. I don't know.
Story by credit or something.
Hot take, Iron Man 2 is way better than Iron Man 3, just saying.
I mean, I don't think that's wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I think anybody who's listening to
I still think you have I think you have a comically
disproportionate dislike
hatred
of that movie.
Of Iron Man 3. It's very entertaining to me how much you hate it.
It's just not good. It's not good.
It's not. Yeah. It's not. But I agree with you that it is that Iron Man 2 is better. Yeah. Yeah. But that's like, the bar is not really high, so
I guess that's true. It is. It's not high at all. But anyway, I'm excited for second season if it ever comes. Did this show make you want to go watch the other MonsterVerse movies, or are you content to be like, I'm good with this show?
I'm kind of content with what I've seen already. Mm-hmm. Like what it did make me, it doesn't make me want to go back and like watch whichever. I don't even remember which ones are the holes in my, in my having watched. But it doesn't make me feel like I need to do that. But I do want to watch future ones. Right, like yes. I'm more interested in it now. Like when a new one comes around, and people are talking about it, and then I'm going to be more into it. I mean, the spoilers for the very, very end. I mean, they're on Skull Island, and Kong comes out.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I watched this a couple weeks ago, and I forgot that already.
And I've always liked King Kong. Like I always really liked King Kong, like the original King Kong. Since I was a kid.
The great debate. Do you like King Kong or Godzilla more?
I like Kong more.
Me too. I love King Kong so much. Yeah. But I mostly love him when he's on Skull Island. Like part of it is the Skull Island setting that I like.
Yeah, I like that. I like that as a, first act setting, but I don't like it for the whole movie.
Oh, for the like you like when he goes to New York.
I like when he goes to New York.
Yeah. I mean, I do too. But yeah, man, King Kong is great.
Yeah,
it's awesome. I wrote my master's thesis on King Kong.
You did?
Yes,
That's
I
right.
did. Mm-hmm.
You did. I forgot. I have to call you Master Tim now. I keep forgetting that.
Yeah, for years. You've forgotten for years. It's fine though, because this master is forgiving. You know, my young Padawan.
Thank you.
Yes.
Happy to be your apprentice.
Indeed. Frank, where can the people find us?
You can go to beerwithgeeks.com for all the episodes, archives, the show notes, links to subscribe. You can subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, take your pick. And you can support us at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio. And that's where you can help us to keep making the shows and cover all the costs and all that kind of stuff as we march towards episode 500.
Marching Towards 500 is the song that I made up right now. Frank, it's wonderful to see you as always. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.